Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I want to talk to you today about a silent enemy. It does not knock at your door. It doesn't come with a warning sign. It creeps in quietly, settles in your mind, and begins to control your decisions, your emotions, and ultimately, your destiny. I'm talking about negative thoughts. You cannot afford to entertain what is trying to destroy you. A negative thought is not just a passing idea. It's a seed. And if you allow it to be planted, watered, and nurtured, it will grow into anxiety, depression, self-doubt, fear, and defeat. But I came to remind you today, you are the gatekeeper of your mind. You are the gatekeeper of your mind. That means you have the power, the authority, and the responsibility to determine what thoughts are allowed to dwell in your mental space. Just like a guard at the entrance of a city decides who comes in and who stays out, you must stand watch over your mind and carefully examine every thought that tries to enter. The problem many people face today is not that negative thoughts exist. They always will. The issue is that we let them enter, settle, and build a home. We allow them to speak into our identity, to influence our confidence, and to shape our choices. And over time, we stop realizing that these thoughts were intruders in the first place. They feel like our own voice, but they're not. They are the echoes of fear, rejection, trauma, failure, and lies. Every time a thought enters your mind, it carries a message. It either builds you up or tears you down. It either aligns with your purpose or distracts you from it. And too often, we accept these thoughts without resistance. We let them play on repeat. We meditate on them, feed them, and unintentionally allow them to define who we believe we are. That's how people with tremendous potential begin to see themselves as inadequate. That's how dreams die before they ever get started. It doesn't begin with failure. It begins with a thought. That's why being the gatekeeper is not optional. It is essential. To be a true gatekeeper, you must become aware of your internal dialogue. You must learn to pause and ask, where did this thought come from? Does it align with who I truly am? Is this building my life or breaking it down? You can't remove what you haven't identified. Once you recognize a negative thought, it is your duty to confront it. You don't entertain it. You don't justify it. You don't let it linger. You stand in your authority and say, you do not belong here. It's about refusing to let problems define your perspective. When you guard your mind, you position yourself to live with clarity, strength, and purpose. You refuse to be a victim of mental sabotage. You protect your peace, your vision, and your joy. And over time, you build a mental environment that supports growth, faith, creativity, and resilience. The greatest battles are not around you, they are within you. But here is the good news. If the battle is in your mind, then the victory starts there too. You are the gatekeeper. What you allow stays. What you resist flees. Stand guard, be intentional, and never give permission to a thought that's trying to rob you of your destiny. You do not overcome negative thoughts by trying to ignore them or by simply wishing them away. The human mind does not operate in silence. It responds to input. And that input must be intentional. One of the most powerful truths you can learn is this. You don't fight thoughts with more thoughts. You fight thoughts with... When a negative thought comes, the mistake many people make is trying to counter it with another internal thought. But silence does not silence negativity. Action does. And the most effective action you can take is to speak. There is a reason why affirmations, declarations, and spoken truth are so transformative. When you speak, your mind listens. Replacing negative music with uplifting content. Choosing educational or inspirational videos over drama and chaos. Spending time with people who speak life, not gossip. Your peace is precious, and anything that costs you your peace is too expensive to keep in your life. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is unfollow, unplug, and disconnect from what's poisoning your mind. This also applies to people. Who you surround yourself with matters. You can't fly with eagles if you keep nesting with crows. You need voices around you that believe in your potential, that call out the best in you, that remind you of who you are when you forget. Some people only know how to speak from their pain. And if you're not careful, they will shape your mind in the image of their wounds. Guard your gates. Protect your atmosphere. Be intentional about your input. Because your mind is too powerful, your purpose too valuable, and your peace too vital to be sabotaged by careless consumption. You don't owe everyone access. You don't have to apologize for protecting your mental space. When you take control of what comes in, you empower what comes out. And that is the first step toward living in freedom and clarity. Renewing your mind is not a one-time act. It's a daily discipline. Just as your body needs food every day to function and stay healthy, your mind needs consistent nourishment to stay strong, focused, and resilient. Negative thoughts don't take days off, and neither can your mental renewal. If you want to live in peace, purpose, and clarity, you must be intentional about the atmosphere you create in your mind every single day. The moment you stop tending to your thoughts, weeds begin to grow. Many people wonder why they keep falling back into the same patterns of fear, self-doubt, and discouragement. It's not because they're weak or incapable. It's because they haven't developed the habit of renewing their mind consistently. A powerful mindset doesn't just happen, it is built. And it is built through repetition, discipline, and the willingness to feed your mind the right things, especially when it's easier to do nothing. Renewing your mind begins the moment you wake up. The first thoughts of your day often set the tone for everything that follows. That's why it's critical to start your morning, not with complaints, stress, or scrolling through bad news, but with gratitude. Gratitude is not just a feeling. It is a perspective that recenters your thinking. When you begin your day by giving thanks, no matter how small the blessings may seem, you shift your focus from what's missing to what's present. You begin to train your brain to look for the good, to expect favor, and to believe that something better is always possible. Another important part of renewing your mind is feeding it truth. You must replace the lies you've absorbed with affirmations that reflect your true identity and purpose. This is not about hype or empty positivity. It's about speaking life-giving truth into your thoughts until it takes root. You might not feel strong when you say, I am strong, but with repetition, your mind begins to believe it. That belief becomes a lens through which you see every situation. Daily renewal also means letting go of what no longer serves you. Every day brings new challenges, but you don't have to carry yesterday's burdens into today. Bitterness, offense, regret. These are mental weights that slow you down and drain your energy. Part of renewing your mind is choosing to release what you cannot change and refocus on what you can. You forgive not because it's easy, but because you refuse to let your peace be held hostage. Ultimately, renewing your mind is about alignment, aligning your thoughts with your values, your faith, and your purpose. It's about reminding yourself daily who you are, why you're here, and what kind of life you're. And when you make this a lifestyle, not just a reaction to crisis, you will find that peace becomes your default, clarity becomes your compass, and purpose becomes your power. Negative thoughts may come, but they won't stay, because a renewed mind has no room for what doesn't belong. Knowing who you are is one of the most powerful tools you can have in overcoming negative thoughts. Identity is the foundation upon which your thoughts are built. When your identity is unclear, your mind becomes vulnerable, open to confusion, insecurity, and false narrative. But when you know who you are, you become rooted, unshakable, and resistant to the lies that try to invade your thinking. Identity is not about your job, your achievements, or your reputation. It's about the unchanging truth of your value, your purpose, and your origin. Many negative thoughts gain power because they speak into the void left by an uncertain identity. Thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I don't matter, or I always fail to take root. When a person has no solid foundation of self-worth, without a clear understanding of your identity, your mind becomes a canvas that others begin to paint on. Parents, peers, culture, and even your own painful experiences. Over time, you begin to believe labels that were never meant for you. You live out of a borrowed identity, shaped more by circumstances than by truth. But when you begin to understand your true identity, everything changes. You begin to see that your worth is not based on performance, popularity, or perfection. It is based on purpose. You were created with intention. There's a reason you exist. You carry value not because of what you do, but because of who you are. And that truth becomes a shield against every thought that tries to diminish or distort your self-image. When negative thoughts say, you're failing, identity responds, I am still growing. When the mind says, you're not enough, identity declares, I am complete, whole, and deeply valued. This is not arrogance, it's alignment. When you agree with truth about who you are, you stop entertaining lies. You stop comparing your journey to someone else's. You stop settling for less than you deserve. You begin to walk with confidence, not because you have all the answers, but because you are rooted in something deeper than emotion or opinion. Knowing your identity also clarifies your boundary. You stop allowing people, places, or situations to define your worth. You don't stay in environments that dishonor who you are. You stop chasing validation and start living from inner conviction. This kind of clarity is rare, but it is absolutely essential if you want to silence the noise of negativity. The journey to discovering your identity is personal, but it's not optional. If you don't define who you are, the world will try to do it for you, and the world is often wrong. Don't let past mistakes, broken relationships, or temporary failures rewrite the truth of your identity. You are not what you've been through. You are not what others have said. You are not your struggle. You are chosen, equipped, and destined for impact. And when you know that, truly know it, negative thoughts no longer control your narrative. They are just passing shadows in a life filled with purpose.